Hi everyone, I am back with part 2 of my guest appearance on the Chain of Wealth podcast. This was with Katie Welsh and Dennis O'Brien. If you haven't checked out Chain of Wealth yet, you need to do that. They have a great podcast. They've got a great Facebook group. They're on Instagram, and they have lots of resources on their website for you. So you want to make sure and check them out. But for today, what we're going to do is we're going to jump into part 2 of my podcast episode with them. And in this one, we are talking about bankruptcy, consumer credit counseling, and our plan for student loans. So stick around to hear the second part of this 3-part series. Enjoy.
Three, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, welcome to
Episode 202, The Budget Bounce. Hey Money Clan, a very warm welcome to the Chain of Wealth podcast. I'm your host, Denis O'Brien.
And I'm Katie Welsh.
Katie, this conversation absolutely blew me away, and I really have a lot of respect for Jen.
Holy moly, talk about inspirational. Jen and her family have taken full reign and responsibility of the debt that they have, and they are just slowly but surely chipping away at over $250,000 worth of debt.
Yeah, it's a lot of debt, but Kate, what I really appreciate about them is their attitude towards it all as well. They are ready to tackle it, and they don't have much time to knock it out and get ready for retirement as well. So they're really focused on juggling a lot of stuff, but I think that they're doing the right thing. They're focusing. They are determined to make it work for them. And I really think that Jen and her family are really going to do well and achieve their goal.
It's stories like this, then, that when I was paying off my debt, just helped push me a little further along. And I think that through Jen's YouTube channel and, you know, just getting the word out and encouraging other people, she is going to do so much more good than what she probably thinks she's going to.
I totally agree with you.
I like how you had your strategy of calling, 2 to 3 different creditors a month, just because you can't tackle it all in one day, or you're just going to basically wipe yourself out. I want to ask if at any point did you ever consider just like filing for bankruptcy or any kind of like federal help or any kind of programs, or, what were you looking at any of that?
I was pretty adamant about not doing that, and I remain so for the most part today. And my husband had been through bankruptcy before, so he was married before me. He had been through bankruptcy through his divorce, and so he had experienced all of this before. And so for him, he thought that was a good idea and that was a good way to go. But we honestly didn't even have money to pay for a bankruptcy. Like, we couldn't save 2 nickels. How are we going to come up with several $100s to file for bankruptcy? I mean, like, I couldn't see the forest for the trees on anything when it came to that whole solution. So I told him I'm not doing that with my debt. And when we looked at his debt, his student loans you cannot put those through bankruptcy, and child support you cannot put through bankruptcy. And the other things that he has that have his name on them totaled $9,000. Why in the world are we going into bankruptcy for that?
Yeah,
That's a good point.
So that's why we haven't done it for him. And again, I felt really strongly. We did go to, before this happened, like the year before, we went to a consumer credit counseling place here locally, and they came up with a plan for us, which would have worked great, but we weren't ready to stop our crazy spending habits. And so because of that, we couldn't see how in the world we could possibly do that. So we didn't do it. And so fast forward, I went to a conference last year called FinCon and met up with somebody who I was fangirling with her. I don't know if you guys know Sarah from Budget Girl. She was there, and we went to a debt-free community meetup off-site one evening, and she spent a lot of time talking with me and encouraging me to reconsider about what we were doing with old debts, things that had been charged off, that kind of thing. and to consider trying to settle them. And she explained the philosophy behind that. And actually, it made complete sense to me. And so we have done that with a couple of different things as they've come up. But for the most part, my whole thought process when it comes to this is, I did this. I spent this money. We spent this money. Matt spent this money. We, as a couple, spent this money, and we need to pay it back.
I really like that.
Yeah,
and,
that's really noble.
like really taking it by the horns and saying, like, this is what I've done. I'm going to be responsible for it. And like, I just want to go back to a point you mentioned earlier, is that you were given a plan and you didn't want to adjust your lifestyle at that point. And I think that this is debt for a lot of people that like haven't realized yet how much debt they're in. And, like knowing that they can actually tackle it. It is a mindset change, and it's also a lifestyle change, and you have to really be ready for that to sort of get that next step going. Like you need to be mentally be like, all right, I'm going to tackle this debt, and that's going to be my focus. And when you focus on something, it becomes your reality. And on that topic, how much have you managed to pay off so far of your $252,000?
So as of the end of this month, which February, March, April, May, June, July, this is our 19th month. It's August of 2019. So as of the end of this month, we will have paid off $42,000.
Holy cow.
That is awesome.
That's huge.
Thank you. Yeah, we're pretty excited about it.
That is probably such like a load off of your shoulders.
Yeah, it was really, so in July, I realized that we'd paid off $40,000. And I don't know why 40 did this for me when 30 and 20 didn't. But I just all of a sudden realized that is a huge chunk of change. And so I just got really excited and remotivated and, really enthusiastic. And the thing is that it was coming on the tail end of a extremely bumpy part of our ride. May and June were incredibly difficult financially. And we ended up wiping out our emergency fund. And so that just, was keeping me awake at night. And anyway, we had to tap into sinking funds that we had to help pay for all of these things that came up unexpectedly. And we had all of this, like for 8 or 10 weeks, I had been just hoping to live through it and be able to cash flow everything we needed to. And we were able to do that. And then at the end of July, to find out we were $40,000 down was just such a great feeling.
I think a lot of people can relate to exactly what you just said, because when you are in a mountain of debt and like just in the thick of it, and you're just paying and paying and paying, you don't always realize how far you have come, because you're just so entrenched and trugging along that you have actually made such a huge dent. And it is really remotivating.
Absolutely.
So what are your plans going forward? So I am just going to assume, especially if you are a spreadsheet junkie, when is your like final payoff range of time? When are you planning to have all this done by, if everything goes according to plan?
So if we continue at the rate that we're going now, which we are not, to use a Dave Ramsey term, we are not gazelle intense. Our minimums by themselves are $2,700 a month. So to be, to go beyond that, is a stretch. And so right now we are able to pay the minimums on the things that we have a group of actively paid debts that we are working on. There's a whole group that is sitting to the side that we will deal with. All of those that belong to Matt that total that $9,000. And also his student loans have been deferred. The next thing we have to do is we're going to get his student loans, while he may still be deferred this year on his income driven repayment plan, which we will be, I think, re-upping. I think we have to reapply for that next month, or October, one of the two. He's probably going to be deferred again because he didn't work half of 2018. But we are going to start paying the interest on those, because those $38,000 in student loans that he had when he graduated in 2013 and came up in 2014 are now $51,000.
Sadly, I know that story all too well.
I know you do, Katie.
Yeah, but like one of the nice things though is that, you know, when you are paying back such a large amount of debt, when you start making like those chips away from all that big principal balance, the amount of money you have left over increases because, you know, like once you've paid the interest, anything else you pay is extra off the total principal of the loan. So as time goes on, you are able to pay more and more towards the principal and less towards the interest because it's on a smaller balance. So the nice thing is for you guys is that, you know, the first 40,000 will be the hardest 40,000 for you guys. After that point, it should kind of have like a snowball effect in that, you know, each month there's going to be less interest to pay and you'll be able to put more money towards the principal, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, we are so looking forward to that. Right now, we haven't been able to pay off the things that have interest on them. And so that's like our 401k loan, our car loan, his student loans. He's got a private student loan as well that we currently pay on. We've been paying on since 2014, you know, like paying down like $13 a month because the interest is so high.
Right.
But anyhow, when we can start tackling those things, that's when I'm really going to start, when the interest actually stops accruing on those. I also have a credit card that's killing us right now. And once I can see that, that is really, I'm going to really feel like we've, you know, gotten some, is it leverage? Is that the word I'm looking for? We're going to start getting some momentum.
Yeah. I would say momentum is the better word. Yeah. It's kind of like when you start at the top of the mountain, you know, that first little almost like snowball that goes down is the smallest and it just gets bigger and bigger as it gains the momentum going down. Yes. And that's what's going to happen to your guys' balance. So really exciting. And yes, you've done such a good job already paying back so much debt in such a small amount of time. So if you really just maintain what you're doing, you guys are on the right track and you're going to really crush your debts.
Yeah, I think it's really admirable, especially, you know, your debt is not the only thing that you've been handling. You've also been dealing with life. And, you know, you said before the show, you're a grandmom. So you're obviously a mom before you're a grandmother.
Yes.
You're juggling all this stuff along with, you know, paying off your debt and staying focused and everything. And I think that is really, really admirable.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's just living every day over here.
That's all you can do.
Exactly. And at the beginning, let me tell you, getting through the day was hard. It was really hard because we had so many other things going on with my husband's illness.
Right.
And I also suffer from mild depression. I have for 20 years. So you put those two things together and now I'm carrying everything and I'm trying to figure out how we can get through this together. And so dealing with the finances while that was going on was, of course, much, much harder. Once he was able to go back to work, then it wasn't just a relief because we were now going to have the money coming in. The other relief that I had that helped me shift my focus more to our finances was that I didn't have to worry about how he is, because it was really scary for a while. And so once I didn't have to worry about those things, we really were able to kind of dig in and really make some progress early on. We've paid off, I think it's 17 different debts that we've paid off so far.
Wow.
So yeah, that's what that $40,000 is comprised of.